Welcome to Ranchi, and back behind me is Huaracocha. Now Huaracocha is one of the fantastic places here and it's said to be one of the most important temples in all of the Inca Empire. Of course, there's a lot of temples and everyone says that the temple there is the most important one. But why is this one unique? Well, because it's really effing tall. It's about 14 meters tall and 92 meters long. And this is really fascinating because it's said to be one of the largest temples. Now this is also said, and I'm a little nervous because there's a giant bull over here and I'm wearing red. I'm going to check that bull out in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it quick. Now this is said to be a high-class temple. So you know, most things are in a pyramid, you know, people on top, people on bottom, and the usual religion to control. And that's why they had the different temples, such as the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Moon in Cusco. But this temple is about 100 kilometers outside of Cusco, which means that it's far away and a little harder to get to. But they say that it was the birthplace, or this is where they came to worship the idea of the birth, or the inception, or the creator of the sun, the moon, the stars. And that's what makes it unique, because the people here got to worship what was the greater God, the more important God. And how did these people, the greater nobles, rule the lesser people or the people below them on the pyramid? They said they did it through intelligence, through knowledge of language, through knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and a big fucking stick. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and check out the rest of Huaracocha, and I'll explain to you also the other uses here, and I'm gonna get away from this bull. And here's the big effing bull. I think he's got horns and I'm wearing red, so hopefully he won't attack me because he's too busy eating grass, but we'll see if things change. But I'm gonna go away now so he doesn't hit me with those horns. Now Huaracocha was built between 1400 and 1430, and this is during the reign of Pachacuti, who was the world transformer. Now as you can see, there's columns here, or what was left of columns, and they say that they had 22 columns, and this is the space where they came to worship. Now the little building thingies on top, the roofs, that's the word I'm looking for, were actually built about 10 years ago to protect the mud housing. But what they've done is before there used to be thatched housing, and I'll go ahead and show you a picture of that. So this is the thatched housing, and this is what they believe is what it looks like. Now remember, in the Inca Empire and what we know of the Incas, it's all relative, meaning we don't really know what we know. Now behind me is said to be the astronomical center, and right here you can see these two cliffs. The sun actually rose on the summer equinox, December 21st, between these two rocks. Not to mention the tourists of French going through them. It's quite significant. Now what's interesting about the people here is they also were said to speak another language, and this other language was Poserna. Something like that. But the point is, it was very similar to the higher class were educated in a different form or a different language, similar to the way that the high class of Europe were educated in Latin. So you can see that this was actually reconstructed about 10 years ago to give us an example. And both of these are slanted at about 7 degrees, building that strength, that center, as well as the ability to go ahead and log where the sun's going. So now that all these other people, like for instance, there's a bunch of Incan kids looking at me and making faces, I'm going to go ahead and continue on to the next spot. Now, as you know, a lot of natural disasters have been happening to Peru, and that happened back in the day. For instance, things would flood, things would get destroyed. Behind me are storehouses. Now, these storehouses were very important, and they say there were about 160 storehouses here, and this is where they stored all the leftover grain because the society that was the Inca was an agricultural one, so it was necessary to feed the 12 million people in the empire. Plus, you know what they say, there was only revolution on empty stomachs. So these are the storehouses, how they kept them fed, so that just in cases. It's also relatively high and away from the possibility of them being destroyed, which is always convenient when you want to keep your food safe. Now behind me is said to be the urban zone. Whether that's true or not, we really have no idea. But you can say that it goes back quite a distance, and there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zones in which they could have housed people, temples, whatever it might be. This might have been an institution of learning. This might have actually been a military compound. We actually don't know what it is, but we do know that it's well built, well organized, and actually placed in a very specific center when it comes to Cusco. In other words, in the idea of Cusco, it's located in a place that's significant towards the idea of the Chanca or the Inca cross. So as you can see, this zone or center is very important, as all of them are to religious stuff for high-class nobles. Yeah. Now if you also come to Racha, there's a sweet-ass local church, and of course lots of cool cheap handicrafts at their local markets with indigenous people. Look how indigenous she is. Look how indigenous these people are. I mean, you can't get any more indigenous than that, can you? I mean, you might be able to, but you'd have to try harder, right? It's pretty indigenous. This is my awesome tour guide who's pissed at me because I'm always last. So from the heart of Peru, on my way to Puno, this is Ian at Ranchi at Huanapachi something. And what it is basically the center for a religious idea, but the most significant element is that it's the worship center of possibly the high class and the worship center of the birth, inception, or core god of the universe. Have a great day.